The United Kingdom recently imposed a students' visa ban on nationals from Afghanistan, Cameroon, Myanmar, and Sudan, citing a surge in asylum claims from students who entered the country through legal study routes. The decision has shocked many aspiring students. But how did Cameroon, a country known for sending thousands of students abroad for education, find itself in such a list? What went wrong, and what does it mean for young Cameroonians whose dreams are built around studying in the United Kingdom? What does it mean for the parents and their government? In this program today, we examine the causes of the ban, its consequences for aspiring students, and the possible alternatives or the way forward. Our panel is made up of Valery Asunde, who is America Texas Tech University alumni and a system engineer. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I want to welcome all the co-panelists for today. My name is Valery Asunde. I did study in the US as a system engineer. And this ban, actually, it's something that psychologically we can say has affected a lot of people, and in the light of these restrictions there are also opportunities that could be felt, but I believe we are here to talk about the full scope of the picture and see how we can develop some sensitization around the topic.
We also have with us Kudi, Cyprian, academic manager of Kelden International Pathway Center, and is here in Yaoundé. Welcome to the program, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moki. Good evening to all the panelists. Delighted to be here to shed light on this very sensitive topic.
Ewang Atabe is CEO AECO Limited in Cameroon. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Moki. It's a pleasure to be back again.
Okay. And from Mirabel is Strategic Partnership Manager at Kelden International Pathway Center. He's also from the Kelden University here in Yaoundé. Welcome to the program, madam.
Thank you very much, sir, for having us here.
It's the first time you're coming to this program?
Yeah, it's the first time here.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Our topic of discussion is UK students' visa ban. Where do Cameroonians turn next? This is Twilight. This is CRTV News. I am Moki Edwin Kindzeka in Yaoundé. Now, Valery Asunde, what do you think, or what have you found out were the causes of this ban?
Well, from the headlines that we have all seen, the UK immigration system or the asylum department has witnessed a stress due to the high numbers of candidates or students per se that leave the country to go and study. But in the light of these events, they instead turn out to seek asylum or naturalization so that they can either extend their stay or maybe get some benefits that the UK government is providing for their citizens. So I believe this restriction is it's a broader immigration system or policy that every country tries to polish so that the image of their country should reflect in the global arena. It's not just about education and mobility. This goes beyond that. And if our country, Cameroon, works with the international bodies to see how the realities unfold on the field, I believe that we'll have a bigger picture of what is happening.
Kudi, Cyprian, what do you think are the causes of the ban?
Yeah, like Mr. Valery has just said, we actually shocked by this very large number of Cameroonians who legitimately went out there for studies. They were given the visas to the visa to study out there in the UK, but on being there, they rather applied for asylum. And so their numbers, actually, what has actually caused this this suspension or this ban, I think, is the very large numbers of Cameroon citizens. And we're actually regretting this because it bars the image of the country and also towards, the opportunities of students who wanted to legitimately go out there to study, but now they don't have the opportunity.
Now, Ewang, Atabe, how did Cameroon end up on a list with countries like Afghanistan, and Sudan under the UK student visa ban?
Thank you, Moki. I think our I would just like to reiterate again that the ban is on student visas, so we need to draw the line on what the ban is on. If you look at the numbers, actually, that the UK immigration presents, of course, you have other nations who have more asylum seekers than some of these nations. But the UK government has witnessed a drastic increase in the number of students who came from these countries as students. And then they came in as students and then actually went on to seek asylum. So it's not the same with other nations who probably have more asylum seekers but who did not come as students. That's why the ban is not on other visa routes. It's strictly for students. So you have a lot of Cameroonians who obtain visas to go study in the UK, and then they get to the United Kingdom and then go ahead to seek asylum. So, of course, what that means is an abuse on the visa route. And what the UK government had to do at this point is to try to see, before taking steps to see how to mitigate such a situation so that they are able to ensure that only actual students are able to come into the UK. They don't bring in bogus students. The first thing is, if you are bleeding, the first thing is to stop the bleeding. So at the moment, they have not had clear solutions. So the first thing is, let us stop the students while we work on solutions towards ensuring that only actual students are able to come in through the student route. So a lot of this is actually caused by a lot of factors, some of which you'll be shocked that it is not just about students who are not informed, but Cameroonians as well who are in the UK, who actually advise students who come in as students, advise them to seek asylum. I think I've been in the industry for about 15 years, and I have parents who actually tell me that when their children get to the UK, other Cameroonians who have been there advise their children to seek asylum, to abandon school. So it's not just about possibly the scrupulous agents here who do a bad job, but also Cameroonians who are there who mislead these students and cause them to take different routes instead of pursuing the actual purpose that brought them into the country.
Are you sure people are not hiding behind education to have visas, then go there and maybe for economic issues?
Of course, that's why I talked about bogus students. There is a portion of these persons who actually leave the country with the idea of actually going for greener pastures without the core purpose being studies. So when they get there, they don't have the required funds to pursue their studies, and as such, once they get there, the first thing is they want to ensure that they have to find a way to stay in the country, because if you don't have the funds to pay fees, you will not be allowed to stay in school. And if you are not allowed to stay in school, the university is going to report you to the immigration, and of course, that consequently means that you'll be deported. So the first thing they do is, once they get there, they seek asylum because they don't have the required funds. So it is a problem that is caused by different factors, one of which is what you have just mentioned.
For Mirabel, what do you think is causing this?
Just as Mr. Ewang said, I think I'm looking now at Cameroon. I think the service providers of transnational education or international education play a very big role in this ban that has been placed on student visa. To say that we encounter these people on a daily basis. They come to us or to institutions that offer international programs, transnational education and all of that. I have met situations where people walk up to me and tell me that I want to go for studies, but the plan is not to go to school. The plan is actually to get there and then maybe seek for asylum or do some other thing. You know, when you have such a person in front of you, you already know the outcome of this. And once you reject it, they move to the next person. So I think that service providers should actually do a better job in orientating these students who come to them and also denying to help them, because we are the people who actually help them to get to where they are. So if we are able to give them that access and allow them to get to the UK up to the point where they are seeking for asylum, then there is a problem with the service providers of transnational education or international education in Cameroon.
Now, Valery, Asunde, is it not pressure also from the parents back home that make these children to want to be to ask for asylum? Because what we've noticed back home is that many parents want the children to go, they sell their houses, they take loans from the bank, and when the children go immediately, they want the children to send money back immediately to be able to service their loans.
The truth is, the reality of this student traveling has not been well understood. when you go as a student, there are certain things that you cannot immediately do, such as have a job or certain hours that you have to work as a student because you went there to study. So when people live here for greener pastures, it's true, the UK certificates maybe hold value, but when you sell your houses and you see you have all those investment that you could have invested here and you send the children overseas, obviously that financial pressure adds up. So it starts from the family and then it goes into the system. Like she was rightly saying, there are actually counselors that when you come, they will tell you which route to make it easier for you to play the system. And since us Cameroonians are very good with playing systems, these are some of the outcomes. So greener pastures are green, but you have to do something about it. The UK citizenship guarantees certain privileges for certain students that are nationals. When Edwin was talking about bogus students, Ewang was talking about bogus students, there are those that provide fictitious bank statements that says they have money, but in fine print they do not, which means that when they get there, that tuition becomes a problem and they have to look for other routes in order to get this money to pay the tuition, coupled up with the financial pressure back home, which has exacerbated the asylum, UK asylum system. Because first of all, there are some of the nationals that we can even say that they are not Cameroonian nationals, which means that the picture has to be painted in such a way that we should understand the real problem on the ground.
What do you mean by they're not Cameroonian nationals?
So,
you say Cameroonian students.
So from the information, the sources that are on the ground, there are nationals that come to Cameroon and obtain Cameroon nationality.
Okay, foreigners who come to Cameroon because it's easier for Cameroonians who have...
Exactly. Other countries have already been banned, like you cited, but Cameroon was not before. So they come to Cameroon and they get this nationality or identity, and then further on to go and get those visas. So their action there reflects as Cameroonians, even when they are not. So we have a bigger policy, migration policy here that we have to reshape, right? Cameroon has to make sure that there is a vetting system where the students actually qualify to go, right, finish the schools and come back, which is not the case because first of all, you've already sold your family house. Where are you going to come back to? That is the first question. Second of all, your parents, maybe with all the financial frustrations, they have borrowed everywhere. So you are obliged to stay and meet some of these obligations so that the family shouldn't go in ruin. So these are some of these multifaceted things that we're facing, and we have to address it. Yes, people want to go out, but the education system out there, like I can clearly say, is not as the one here where you become an entrepreneur by force. Over there, they're teaching you to become an employee and you work till the end of your time.
We're going to get that detail, not now, please. But something is still beating my imagination here from Mirabel, that you present fake bank statements. It means at the level of the embassies, the consular services, they're not able to investigate and find out that the information you give as to how much you have to sponsor education is not true.
I would say that even at the level of the embassy, they actually also need to do proper research as a background check to ensure that these documents that the students are provided to them are actually authentic. So there are ways to verify all those information. So you see that there's actually a problem at every level. There is a problem that needs to be rectified.
I mean,
Moki, can I?
Yeah, please.
Yes, I think for the UK, I'll speak specifically for the UK. For bank statements, it's not the fraud aspect you need. It's not that the statement is not from the bank. It's not that there's no money in the account. The UK operates what we call a 28-day rule in terms of proof of funds. Now, what happens is you have a lot of students who don't have money. The UK does not require you to show a history for the last 3 months, for the last 6 months. They basically require you to show that this money has been in your account or your parents' account for the last 28 days untouched. So you have a lot of students who actually decide to go borrow this money, put it in their account, keep it there for 28 days, it's mature, and of course the bank statement is now valid to be used for the visa application. So when the UK Immigration Services checks, they will confirm that the bank statement is authentic. But in real sense, that money does not belong to the students.
You took a loan, you just remove the money and send back
now,
to the...
Now, once the visa is approved, they are not, it's not their money. They now have to refund the money, and then they move to the UK. They don't have funds anymore. So that's actually the fraud aspect in the process.
And this is done with recognized banking institutions in the country. complicit.
Can a banking institution go and issue a fake, documents that you have money in the account?
So I think the banks don't have an issue because you are not doing a fake document. So imagine I come and take money from you, for example, Moki, right? And I go to, let's say, BSEC and put that money in my account. How do you hold BSEC liable for that process? BSEC knows that it is your money. I've brought the money and I've put it in my account. So it is not the bank, it is the individuals.
Mr. Kudi, are these real situations you observe? Or?
Yeah, I think it has come to, I have discovered a number of students who've traveled abroad using the approach Mr. Ewang just talked about. They buy the bank statements, as it is said, they buy bank statements, and that clearly shows that the student has not got money to pursue his or her studies. So eventually, when he succeeds with the visa, he goes out there. There is actually no money to pay for the tuition. So he just wants to do everything possible. The papers are legitimate, they are genuine. But when he goes out there, he has not got what it takes financially to be able to meet the cost for the education. And so he starts looking for other way. And asylum is one of those easiest ways that he can switch to be able to stay there.
You have been there before. When you get there and you have that asylum, you're an asylee, do you automatically qualify to work? Why must they want to be asylum seekers?
So to answer to that question, I'll talk about the American system. The American system has this social security number where it dictates the work restriction. You cannot just go because of their taxation law. So if you are not a naturalized citizen through either asylum or born, you have this work restriction. It's actually written on your social security card, which means that any employer who sees you with that number knows that you are not supposed to work in a certain place or certain places or certain hours, which makes the school or the university the only employer for some of these students. And you can tell how many students are in a school. Maybe at times you just have 3 hours of work in the week, which is not enough to even pay your phone bill. Right? So now by declaring that you're a political refugee, they give you some of the benefits that fall within that category, such as subsidized loans from the government, right? Such as scholarships that were only meant for UK nationals. Now you qualify via naturalization. So those alleviate some of the financial burden and stuff like that. So I believe that is the reason why most people are going towards their route, and it's actually being advised by the visa processors companies that are here in Cameroon. So it's a way of survival. It's like they throw you in an ocean and you're trying to survive.
That's the case in America. What about the UK?
Yes, I think the common thing is once you seek asylum, right, you become a responsibility of the state at that particular point in time. That's why the weight is so much on the UK government, because every asylee, once you declare that you're an asylee, you now become a responsibility of the state until they make a clear determination of your asylum status, whether it is accepted or approved. Now, that's why you feel the heat on the UK government, because as the numbers are increasing, there's enormous pressure on the UK government, because they have a duty and responsibility, according to the various asylum acts that they have signed, to take care of this asylee until they make a determination on the status of the asylum cases.
Before I come to you, let me just ask you this clearly. Now, instead of the UK government to investigate these fraudsters, and send them back to their country, you punish a whole generation of people who want to study legitimately. Was it not even better for them, I'm asking you, to investigate and know that this man actually had forged documents before coming to the UK and did not qualify for the student visa? Now it's been found out, you go back to your country, or they look for other means. So,
Moki, I'm not an expert on these immigration and policies but what I know is that every country that has signed into these acts, you have specific things that you have to adhere to. So, for example, initially I used to talk to myself that why should the UK just put a ban? Why don't you just say that for every student who comes in, for every person who comes in as a student, and you apply for asylum, automatically you are not eligible? But that's not the case. An asylum, somebody clearly says that my life is at risk in my country. Now, the person has already come into your country, and according to the various conventions that they have signed,
you have to protect that
exactly.
Person
that is the first rule. So it is not within their premise to just decide that they will not do this or they will not do that. They have signed conventions, and you have to adhere to those conventions.
I think it's also a psychological signal for when they announce this ban, so that future perpetrators could be on the lookout or actually abolish that system. Because if they just go and deport a few, the majority might not know what is going on. So just banning the whole thing gives a psychological aspect to say, if you want to go and forge a bank document, you already know what is going to happen there later on. I believe that's one of the reasons too they just ban everybody.
And Mr. Moki, just to add that, I think it's worth pointing out that this ban or suspension is for 18 months. After 18 months, it's going to be reviewed. We just hope that within this period...
18 months, that's a period. 2 sets of students who are in upper seat now want to go to the UK and will be penalized because of this ban.
So we just hope that maybe within this period, you know, a lot of things will come out. We're going to investigate on a lot of things, and innocent students shouldn't be punished by a globalized...
now, let me just ask the two of you here. According to figures, within the past 10 years, I'm linking it to the socio-political crisis. Many people have been asking for asylum there, claiming that they're suffering from a situation in northwest and southwest regions. And according to the investigations, again, some of them are not even related to the northwest and southwest regions. They come from other regions where there is relative peace. Are you seeing that people are using the crisis to have other gains?
Yeah, they are actually using the crisis to other gains, because somebody will live from the northwest or the southwest and is now in Yaoundé, and then you travel to the UK and now you're now seeking for an asylum. And just as Mr. Ewang was saying, I feel like the UK government should be able to do proper research. Like, they should be able to do due diligence to these people who are actually seeking for asylum. The fact that they have come, seeking for asylum is not a problem. It's actually a fundamental right under the conventions that you've signed. But now, everybody coming to seek for asylum, you should be able to know who merits it and those who don't. Because with the ban now, those who actually merit it, like those in the northwest living directly to go to the UK, cannot benefit from this, because those who have abused it are now there, and due to that, it has been banned for everybody. So they are actually making an abuse of that.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Moki, I just wanted to add that if you are issued a visa for study, I think it's completely different from someone who actually went to UK, you know, to seek asylum. If you've actually admitted a student that he has come for an educational purpose, educational project, and suddenly, so it's possible to still get into their database and find out those students who genuinely were actually given the visa as students, and they came in as such, and then find out why and how would they suddenly change and start scheme for asylum.
Mr. Asunde and Mr. Ewang, I want the two of you to talk about...
liberate those who are here, who want to genuinely go out to study.
I want to talk about the life of a Cameroonian who goes to the US or to the UK or out of the country for studies legitimately and with the documents, but with the financial hardship, and those who have now been considered asylum seekers. Is there a difference in the lifestyles? Maybe Valery.
I think he should.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. I think there is a clear difference. Normally, I have been counseling students, parents, and families for international education for the last 14 years. And that's one thing I always tell parents. You need to ensure that you are able to guarantee your children's tuition and living expenses before they leave the country. Because unlike the image that a lot of people portray out there, that it's milk and honey, that's not the case. The first thing is, if you get into any system, yes, you are allowed to work while going to school. For most cases, for the UK, for example, students are allowed, for students who come with a Tier 4 visa, they are allowed to do up to 20 hours of work during school periods and full-time during their break. But the first thing you should understand is that when you get into a country, you need to understand the way that country works. There are no jobs that are kept aside for you there to just come and start working and you are earning money. The university, for example, doesn't take responsibility to look for a job for you. So what that means is, even if you be able to do something and earn some money, you need to have spent some time in that country, sustain. And the hours that you are given to work, there is no way you can actually be able to put in work, concentrate in school, raise that amount of money to pay fees and cover your living expenses. It is impossible. So that's where the issue comes. So often than not, students are not adequately counseled Parents are not well counseled for these international education processes by most agents. So what happens is when the students go out there, they meet the reality. And then a lot of things down on them, and they realize that it is not possible. Maybe the parents have paid maybe 1/3 of your fees or half of your fees, and then the university policy says maybe within the next 1 or 2 months you have to complete your fees. You are in the UK. It will take you, a fast student, it will take you at least 3 months for you to settle in and then be able to get a part-time job. Now, you are required to pay the balance of your tuition fee. We're talking about thousands of pounds, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 pounds within the next
5 million, 6 million.
Exactly. Within the next 1 to 2 months in the UK. What will happen? So the idea is that the students see themselves being expelled from school, and if they are expelled from school, they are reported to immigration and they'll be deported. So the first thing they'll quickly do next is, what other solutions can I take in order to keep staying in the country? Because possibly the family has the money that they used, maybe a property was sold, or maybe it was a loan that was taken before this first part of the fees was paid. So going back means I am adding more burden and issues to my family. So the first thing they do is, what is it that can keep me in this country as at now? No job yet, so the only thing you can think of is an asylum. So you declare yourself to the government as somebody who is not wanted in their country, whose life is at risk in their country, and that's what happens.
Valery?
So just to add more light to what he's saying, the big difference here between an asylee and a student is that you can take breaks within your studies to actually work money. Right? If you're already integrated in the system, because a student, you must be enrolled for a certain amount of time. You must go to school. If you don't do it, obviously they report you to the immigration and you get sent back. So once you already have these asylum documents approved or case pending, what you can do is you can take breaks from school, which is actually what some Americans do. Somebody can take 10 years to finish a degree that is 5 years because they are working in between to accumulate or to save those funds to pay for their tuition. So it's actually something that even you go there, you'll be tempted to do because there's no money sitting out here waiting.
Why should I not be tempted? And what language will you be using with other people there? When you see them, they're the ones investing in town, they come to drive the big cars. I mean, that's the way the lay Cameroonian, the students who is there suffering, looks at it. That, what are you talking about? These guys come here, they do everything, you see them constructing back home, and you're telling us not to go there and be asylum seekers?
And the truth about it is, you as a student, as an international student, your tuition is even more expensive than a national, right? Which gives you more incentive to actually fall through with what others are doing. So you see yourself paying more tuition as a foreign international student, and if you actually do have those funds, you are putting more pressure on your own parents while your friends are actually working and paying for their tuition. So now that dynamic starts to come again, where it's either you jump the ship or you let it sail to a final destination where you're still gonna have to spend those same amount of time and money. So I believe that's the situation that is unfolding down on the field.
Why did you come back?
So after...
Was it because you could not also take care of the issues and then you decided to be honest with yourself?
So to actually be very frank, my education in Texas Tech is very expensive. As an engineer, as a system engineer, a program that they just created 3 years before I started it, I couldn't afford it here in Cameroon to pay. So I integrated in the system. My father brought me there. I worked and then I went to school. I borrowed money too from the government, but it is those subsidized loans where when you're already integrated in the system, some forgiveness could be made. They could forgive some of your loans, they could pardon some of them, which Joe Biden did at some point in his tenure. So me, I came back because I've acquired so much experience and I want to participate in the emergence of our youth or the development of our
How much is the school fee? How much is the tuition in the American Tech?
Texas Tech. So for now, I can say if my 5 years incurred almost 50 million francs CFA.
50 million francs CFA?
Yes.
Don't we have those courses in Cameroon?
We do, but I don't think we do. In the US, they're teaching us a variety of system management and production innovation, which we do not have here. You see a farmer, they will prefer to take a cutlass and a hoe to do something that with a mechanized or an industrialized machine, which we've been learned or we've been taught to use. 5 minutes, you're done. So some of these things are not here, which is why their certificates or diplomas are more attractive.
At times I listen to these things just because that you can take work 5 minutes with a machine instead of taking. But you watch the Women's Day and the other activities, and they were giving women's hose and cutlasses. Anyway, it's for another. They will not come into that. Well, what you talk about the possible alternatives now that they've been banned. Before then, I want all of us maybe 2 minutes each to tell me what the consequences of this ban, maybe for the students, for the parents, for Cameroon and for the UK. Let me say you.
I think it mars the image of the country, first of all, to be listed, Afghanistan. The image of our country, Cameroon, is badly marred by this suspension. At the level of the individual families, parents have invested, a lot of money to see their children progress to one of these world-class universities. Some of them students had already received conditional offers. And the other day, I got some of the universities revoking the offers. So much, frustrating the students psychologically. They are really, really traumatized. Like at Kelden University, for the past 1 week since this ban was announced, it has not been easy counseling these children for them to stay in class to study. They've had their offers and they're looking forward, working hard to meet the academic requirements by grades. But now this ban just comes and then puts a stop to their ambition. So at the level of the parents, it's frustrating. You've initiated a very important project financially, but now it has to stop. So it's so devastating. The effect is so devastating at the level of the country, the image of the country, at the level of the family, at the level of the students. And of course, those who are still in school, they're asking the question, what future? What is the future?
Okay. For Mirabel?
Yeah, I would say one of the effects is that just like Mr. Valery, who has schooled abroad and he has come back to his country to come and establish and pour back the knowledge he got from there, we are unable to do that now. Due to the ban, students who intend going to the UK to further their educations cannot do that because not everybody who goes abroad has the intent of staying there. Some actually just want to get the skills, the knowledge, and then come back to their country and be able to impact that. But with this ban, it has made it impossible, and it has discouraged a lot of parents now when they look, because when we talk about UK is actually the heart of international education. So with this,
and especially Cameroon, the Commonwealth country, that counts on the UK as well.
So it has actually, discouraged a lot of parents, students, and all of that. So it has a lot of effect on the parents too as well.
Ewang, Atabe, the consequences.
I think the importance of international education cannot be overemphasized. We look at the ills of a situation like this, and we actually sit and lament. I mean, beyond the idea of students going out there to access high quality education, I think I was talking with the director of one of the NCUK centers, the one in Douala, the other day, Rinda, who happened to have studied abroad as well at a week in the UK, and he was telling me that he looked at the program that the students are doing at the International Year 1 in computer science. The modules they are doing in their first year of undergraduate studies is what students in the final year of their bachelor's degree program in that same program in Cameroon are doing. So that clearly tells you the difference in the standard of education. And it's really saddening to see that situations like this are going to stop a lot of students from being able to access this kind of quality education. But we cannot just lament and say the claims that the UK government has put forth are quite correct. And we need to sit back and reflect as a people. How do we ensure that we are able to clean the image of our country and ensure that we don't continue in the same direction? Because that's actually been the path. Cameroonians who move ahead, they don't focus on ensuring that there are other people coming behind them who will need to access these same opportunities to better their life. A typical Cameroonian thinks of, when I go, let me cut the bridge. Those behind can suffer and die. That's the only explanation you can get for things like this. So we need to actually be able to sit back. It's rather unfortunate that the ban came so sudden. Of course, because I'm involved in the industry, I know already that the UK government was taking steps already, and is taking steps towards trying to streamline this process. For example, already universities are now compelled to ensure that before a student's cast letter is issued, the agency that recruited that student the name of the counselor and the name of the agency has to be on the student's cast letter. That helps the government to trace. If this student comes in and eventually does not go to school, we know that this student was created by this counselor and from this agency in Cameroon, and they can actually know that you are sending bogus students. And back home in Cameroon already, I think I started championing a crusade late last year, trying to see how to ensure that I'm able to bring together all international education consultants. And we are actually at the advanced stage. We've had about 3 meetings. Late last year, I serve, which is one of the biggest organizations in the world that regulates us, sent someone to Cameroon. I worked with him for like a week. We were able to bring together all education consultants for us to form an association because it is not regulated. So everybody just wakes up and today they are an education consultant. But it doesn't mean that that's how the industry is. There are certifications that need to be completed. British Council has clear training programs for you to have gone through to work as an education consultant. And because in Cameroon, for example, there is nothing that guides the practice. Anybody wakes up today and decides to become an education consultant, and these are the people who are doing.
And the parents who are in the quarters.
And the parents, exactly, they are actually leveraging on the gullible nature of parents and most Cameroonians who don't have the kind of knowledge that they know. The truth is, Moki, for you to go out there and study, everything is available on the internet. You can do these things yourself if you want. But most Cameroonians, most of us don't have a culture of reading, of going to do research and things like that. Because I'm not sure you want to send your child abroad now without taking time to understand where my child is going to. What is he going to study? Where is he going to live? How much finances are required? Most parents don't take their time to go through that process. And this is what most of these scrupulous agents are.
Don't forget that most children also, they don't want to hear the proposals that parents are making. They want to go at all costs. Now,
but you're the parent, you don't have money.
Actually.
So, just 2 minutes, please. The consequences.
I believe this has...
and I want you to add if diplomacy could right it wrongs.
Right. So this has 3 layers of consequence that we can see. The first one is the national image, right? The country does not have a verified system where we can actually track migration. Who is living, how are they living, when are they supposed to come back, etc. Everybody just does what they want to do. The second thing is international collaboration. If this thing came to the point of a ban without the UK government actually signaling to the Cameroonian government what is going on, it means that either they are not communicating or internationally there is no collaboration. Now we go to the financial pressure and the psychological effect that it will have on the parents and the students, like my co-panelists are pointing out. If you are there to study and you know that you're there to study, financial stuff start disrupting. First of all, you'll not be concentrated to study and even pass the exams, right? So you'll be finding means to survive. And a hungry man is an angry person. And most of the time, the brain does not function when it's in that type of state. So psychologically, they start to overwork themselves, overwhelm, starting to get into practices that will eventually lead to deportation, and they won't even finish their programs, you know. So I believe those are some of the consequences.
Can diplomacy, now you say it's 18 months, if I got it right.
Yeah, it's 18 months.
Can diplomacy be of help now? That is Cameroon diplomacy should
the Cameroon
and also cleaning its system from within.
Right. Now they talked about 50 billion CFA, right? Now they can use that money to maintain some of these people within.
You mean the funds that the government is giving
yes,
youth? Yeah.
For the youth. They can build systems that will start empowering this youth here while waiting to go, and if the certificate is actually ultimum, they have to wait for some period of time while doing something on the ground in order to continue with the studies if they must have this certificate. But engineers in America are still burning soyas and selling, which means that even there, say, sure, we have to stay back here and try to do something that is actually going to benefit our own system and our own country. So,
I want us to go to alternatives.
I think diplomacy can play a part here. I mean, I know for sure that the UK government and the Cameroon government have a very solid relationship. So the UK has posed a problem. And I think it's about what steps the Cameroon government, how they engage the UK government to try to see how they can work with them to propose clear solutions. If they are able to propose clear solutions to the UK government, I think the 18 months could be brought to 1 month, to 2 months, as long as the UK is able to the Cameroon government is able to convince the UK government that, you know what, we are able to do this to ensure that we don't have more students coming to Cameroon, leaving Cameroon and coming to the UK, and instead of studying and then seeking for asylum. So I think the best place where this could be solved is through diplomacy. The two countries have to talk.
Now, I insisted on this program today because last week during the Commonwealth Week, there was an international conference here talking about the NCUK, the Northern Consortium of UK universities, where that collaborating with about 70 universities of the world to make it possible for students to live here and continue their studies. And now that this has happened, I called Kudi, Cyprian, academic manager of Kelden International Pathway Centers, which is one of those centers. One is also in Douala, to talk to us about the possible alternatives, the possibility. What should the students be? Is it all lost?
It's not all lost, Mr. Moki. NCUK is actually resolved steadfast in their mission to provide transnational education, quality education to the Cameroonians, even with the suspension or the ban. This is because the NCUK, Northern Consortium of UK universities, is found not only in UK, you find it in USA, in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia. So with the ban to obtain the UK visa, students who still want to acquire transnational education, quality education, they still have access, to these world-class universities, NCUK universities in these other countries. Permit me mention that the NCUK is found in 40 countries in the world, 120 centers across the globe, and 10 NCUK centers in Africa. In Cameroon, we are privileged. Kelden International Pathway Center is privileged to be the pioneer in this area. So students can still acquire this international education, quality education, through the NCUK program, but not through the UK route, since there is the visa suspension, but through Canada. They can go to Canada. They can go to. We just discovered today, Ireland. There are some 9 top universities in Ireland, a number of them in Dublin, in Limerick, in Cork universities, where they respect the NCUK qualifications, which means that the students can begin their international studies here at Kelden, and then they seamlessly progress to one of these NCUK universities or the other world-class universities that's actually recognizing the NCUK qualifications. So, Mr. Moki, all is not lost. Like we're saying, we have 18 months after which it will be reviewed. But within this time, the students who wanted to progress to these world-class universities still have an opportunity.
It is important for you to explain this, because I remember the British High Commissioner was launching this center here in Cameroon, saying that this is a solution to some of the academic problems you have, the solution to people who want to study abroad who don't have that possibility because of a lot of fake agencies around. And today that same country is saying you couldn't go there. So you are assuring us that there are other alternatives, and make it very known. Let me hear from you.
There are other, just as Mr. Kudi earlier on said, the NCUK program is present in the UK, in the USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. But given the recent updates of what has been happening in the UK, we are here to also inform the population that Canada is also open for those who are actually seeking for quality and standard education, can be able to get that from Canada, from Australia, from New Zealand, and some other universities which are not partner universities to the NCUK program, but also recognize the qualification that the NCUK program also offers. So all hopes are not lost. Students can still be able to do their education, their international education here in Cameroon for a year or two, and then continue abroad, not leaving out the fact that the NCUK program is a very cost-effective program, because just as Mr. Valery earlier on mentioned, to study abroad is very expensive, because not only are we talking about the tuition, living costs, the frustration and everything. So with the NCUK program now present in Cameroon, parents can actually leverage on this by saving a lot of money, permitting their kids to do up to 2 years of their international studies in Cameroon, and then progressing just for their final year abroad to continue over there.
How is their follow-up, their mentoring, is that what I call it, at the level of those international universities? Do they come here to verify that the quality is good enough? At Kelden, for instance?
Yes, okay. I want to talk about the accreditation process. It's very rigorous, Mr. Buki, because there is a team that actually ensures that the facilities, they meet the standards of studies out there. I think I just want to emphasize on the fact that the Kelden International Pathway Center does not offer certificates and diplomas. It's just a preparatory program where the students can begin here. Mm-hmm. Therefore, the facilities here, to a very large extent, meet the standards. Supervisory teams actually come down to the field, to actually inspect the quality of the infrastructure, the laboratories, the libraries, and the quality of the teachers. Mm-hmm. For you to, to teach one of the modules, your CV is sent to the NCUK headquarters in Manchester. It's scrutinized, and then it's approved from there. Even my CV was approved from Manchester as the academic manager. So everything is very rigorous to ensure this quality assurance. And should I just continue? The module specifications are all from NCUK, and all the 120 centers in the world, they are following the same modules, writing the same exam. It's corrected here and scanned and forwarded to the headquarters in Manchester, where it is again marked and moderated, so that the student actually deserves what
Von Mirabel, I wanted to look at those students who are watching this program now who thought all was lost and assure them that it is not lost, because they're watching you. I'm sure they're now saying, okay, you brought us here to study and go and study in the UK now. We are no longer going to be there, even their parents.
Yeah, to all the students out there who are actually looking out for international studies, all hopes are not lost. Because at Kelden University Institute, you have the possibility to do the NCUK program, which permits you to do up to 2 years of your international studies in Cameroon and progress to top-ranked universities even in Canada, in Australia, in New Zealand, in Malaysia, and even in Ireland. So all hopes are not lost. With the NCUK program, you're guaranteed to have access to this top-class university. To these universities, you have access to over 9,000 plus degree courses, and a lot of advantages that comes with the NCUK program,
including scholarships.
Yeah, and also leaving out the fact that another thing that stands out for the NCUK program is student credibility. Because a lot of students are unable to prove their credibilities as students, even at the level of the embassy or when seeking for their visas. So the NCUK program actually stands out here for you because you have done up to 2 years of your international studies in Cameroon. So it definitely means that you are a student and you've paid tuition for at least 2 years and you're now progressing to complete your education over there. So it's actually a plus for you going through the NCUK program, actually having access to these universities.
Ewang, Atabe, what are the possible alternatives?
I think just to build on what Mirabel and Mr. Kudi said, and I think I've been ahead of such situations before. Haven't worked in this industry for 14 years. 2 years ago, I took some steps. And I think you and I was on one of your panelists here where we were talking about brain drain and things like that. I took some steps towards ensuring that we are able to get into full-scale transnational education, to the point of us being able to delocalize a full foreign university to have it domiciled in country. And the Kelden and St. Louis Center is actually one of the products of the work I've been doing for the last 2 years. We started with pathway centers, and just on Friday we held the first ever Commonwealth Transnational Education Forum that brought together leading universities from different Commonwealth states. What happened was that we had universities in Cameroon sit face-to-face with foreign universities to discuss how they can actually be able to have their programs run in Cameroon. So at this particular point in time, the 2 pathway centers are able to give students the opportunity to kickstart their studies here and then eventually be able to progress. I think that within the next 2 years, this ban would be lifted. The UK government would have found clear solutions on how to be able to manage this. But beyond that, there are other routes for these students to actually be able to progress in. I mean, she talked about Malaysia, Canada, and other places. You should also think about the fact that if you are so desirous of a UK qualification, you can also have a UK qualification in a different country outside the UK. For example, you were here with Esther Lowe from Malaysia, who told you about how they have spent the last 30 years to transform their education using transnational education, where you have a lot of UK university campuses now domiciled in Malaysia. Not to talk of the UAE, of course, we know there's a war going on in the UAE, but if you go to Dubai, for example, and Abu Dhabi, it is being transformed into an education hub, where lots of these UK universities are setting up branch campuses, and that's what we are trying to see, how to get on board in Cameroon as well.
Before we take a break, I wanted to hear from Valery Asunde.
So the alternative here would be to seek other countries or other accreditation. UK is not the only country, right? When we put so much emphasis on one particular location, the abuse comes in, and when the abuse comes in, obviously we see the consequences, which is a ban. We should diversify our movements, our portfolio. What I'm gonna say after being out for about 15 years, it is not all green out there. We should start watering our own grass here, and maybe at the end of the day we'll not have to spend all our last resources to actually move and go study somewhere just to come back, or maybe end up being an employee forever. So some of the alternative that I think I might actually call on the government to invest in their own educational system, so that this window of opportunity where we always have to escape and go outside closes in a little bit. We can partner with some of these universities and bring some of these teachers here to teach us some of those courses, and actually reduce the tuition to a considerable amount where parents would not be stressing so much to afford to send their children, because you're sending them out there for arms where you don't know what is happening. The lifestyle there is not like here, and when they get there they start indulging in certain things. There's no turning back. So we should actually invest on staying here and making Cameroon the El Dorado that we want it to be. And when you get, for those that have been privileged to go, when you get the education, please do come back, right? Because Cameroon too needs to evolve. Cameroon needs to unlock its economic potential. When we take all our mental resources and export them, and we're doing it at a very alarming rate, it shows some kind of weakness in our own system, where other people can exploit it, where you see other nationalities getting our own nationality to go out there and act on behalf of Cameroon, which is not actually the full picture. So instead of putting ourselves in these situations where we are desperate, we should start creating our own grass here and watering it every day.
If you're joining us, you're watching Twilight on CRTV News. Our topic of discussion is UK students visa ban. Where do Cameroonians turn next? We are taking a break. We shall be right back.